The Colorado River is the lifeblood of the American Southwest, sustaining 40 million people across 7 states and 2 countries. Its waters flow through vast deserts, bustling cities, and fertile valleys, connecting communities from the Rocky Mountains all the way to Mexico. It irrigates millions of acres of farmland, making possible the food that fills our grocery stores and the landscapes that define the region. For a century, we built cities and farms around its flow, believing we could control nature. Dams, canals, and reservoirs transformed the river into a managed resource, fueling the growth of the West. But in the summer of 2025, that belief is collapsing. The river that once seemed endless is now revealing its limits. The Colorado faces an unprecedented crisis, decades of overuse, a relentless mega-drought, and the accelerating impacts of climate change have pushed it to the brink of disaster. Lake Mead and Lake Powell, once symbols of abundance and engineering triumph, now reveal chalky rings marking historic lows, their shorelines receding further each year. These reservoirs, our water savings accounts for dry times, are nearly empty, leaving communities and farmers anxious about the future. The river's flow has shrunk dramatically, and we've demanded more than it can provide. Every drop is spoken for, yet the supply keeps shrinking. This isn't a temporary drought, it's a fundamental shift in the West's water reality. The old patterns of wet and dry years have given way to a new, harsher normal. Warmer winters mean less snowpack in the Rockies, earlier melts, and drier soils. So, less water reaches the river when it's needed most. The mountains, once reliable water towers, are no longer able to replenish the river as before. Our old water systems, built for a wetter era, are failing. Infrastructure designed for abundance now struggles to deliver even the bare minimum. The Colorado River crisis is a warning, an alarm bell that we've hit the limits of what nature can give. Communities are facing tough choices, and the stakes have never been higher. We allocated more water on paper than the river ever carried, a mistake now coming due, as legal promises collide with physical reality. The challenge ahead is not just technical, it's a test of our ability to adapt, cooperate, and rethink how we live in the West. Solutions will require everyone, farmers, cities, tribes, and policymakers working together. The time for small fixes is over. The future of the Colorado River and the millions who depend on it hangs in the balance. The Colorado River is the lifeblood of the American Southwest, serving both booming cities and rural communities alike. Its waters flow through the heart of major metropolitan areas, fueling growth and prosperity in places where rainfall is scarce, and the desert dominates the landscape. At the same time, the river sustains vast stretches of farmland, where generations of families have relied on its flow to grow crops and raise livestock. But today, the needs of cities and farms are colliding as the river shrinks under the pressure of drought, overuse, and a changing climate. Cities like Las Vegas and Phoenix have responded by becoming some of the most water efficient in the world, investing in advanced technology and conservation programs. These cities have managed to grow their populations and economies even as they use less water per person than ever before. Yet, their very existence in the desert depends on the river's reliability. Without the Colorado, these urban centers would not be able to thrive or even survive in such an arid environment. Meanwhile, agriculture still uses about 75% of the river's water, growing crops like alfalfa and hay, much of which is exported overseas to feed livestock in other countries. This heavy demand puts additional strain on a river that is already stretched thin. As supplies dwindle, farms with junior water rights are the first to lose access, forcing once productive fields to go fallow. The loss of water means the loss of livelihoods, and the landscape itself begins to change. Rural communities built on agriculture are unraveling as water disappears, with businesses closing and families moving away in search of new opportunities. The tension between urban and farm water use is at the heart of the crisis, dividing neighbors and regions as everyone fights for their share of a shrinking resource. For too long, it's been a zero-sum game, farmer versus city dweller, each side blaming the other for the shortages and the hardships that follow. Now, survival depends on sharing less water and rethinking how we value every drop. Communities are coming together to find new solutions, from conservation to collaboration, because the old ways are no longer enough. The future demands sacrifice, innovation, and a new approach to water use, especially in agriculture, where every decision will shape the fate of the river, the land, and the people who depend on both. Falling reservoir levels threaten more than just our water supply. They put at risk the very foundations of our electricity grid and the food on our tables. The Colorado River, once a symbol of abundance, is now a stark reminder of how quickly things can change. Glen Canyon and Hoover dams have long generated hydropower for millions across the Southwest, providing clean, renewable energy. But as water levels drop to historic lows, the ability to generate this power is slipping away, putting entire communities at risk of blackouts and energy shortages. If Lake Powell falls below its minimum power pool, the turbines will grind to a halt. This would mean the loss of a vital renewable energy source for the region, forcing us to rely more heavily on fossil fuels and less sustainable options. The consequences would ripple outward. Higher electricity costs for families and businesses, increased greenhouse gas emissions, and a greater strain on already stressed power grids. The river's water also sustains the Imperial Valley and Yuma County, regions that produce the majority of America's winter vegetables. These fertile lands depend on a steady flow from the Colorado to keep crops growing through the colder months. As water becomes scarcer and more expensive, farmers face impossible choices: invest in costly irrigation upgrades, switch to less water-intensive crops, or in some cases abandon their fields altogether. Each option comes with its own set of challenges and risks. Reduced farm output could mean higher food prices, empty supermarket shelves, and even shortages that affect families across the nation. The impacts of this crisis are not limited to the Southwest. They reach every dinner table in America. Our food and energy systems are built on a water supply that's cracking under the pressure of drought and overuse. The signs are everywhere, from parched riverbeds to shrinking reservoirs. The Colorado River crisis exposes just how fragile our modern way of life really is. Small towns, families, and entire industries are feeling the strain as the river recedes. We must confront the reality that water underpins everything we depend on: our power, our food, and our future. The choices we make now will determine whether the Colorado River remains a lifeline or becomes a cautionary tale. Amid crisis, collaboration offers hope. In May 2025, Arizona and California agreed to conserve 321,000 acre-feet of water in Lake Mead over 3 years. This $128 million deal, involving states, cities, and the San Carlos Apache tribe, is a rare moment of unity. The agreement will raise Lake Mead's level by 5 feet, buying time for the system. Most water savings come from paying farmers to fallow fields or switch crops, a temporary fix. While it's the 19th such deal, it's still just a patch on a failing system. The deal is a fragile truce, not a solution. And its success depends on broader, lasting commitments. It's a reminder, we're still on the edge. The Colorado River's fate is decided each winter in the Rockies. The winter of 2024-25 was one of the driest on record, with snowpack far below average. Spring runoff forecasts kept dropping, and Lake Powell's inflow was just 55% of normal. One dry winter erased years of conservation, pushing reservoirs lower and forcing painful water cuts. The temporary buffer from recent deals vanished, exposing the system's vulnerability to climate swings. Rising temperatures mean less snow, more evaporation, and parched soils soaking up what little water remains. This isn't just bad luck, it's the new normal for the Colorado River Basin. The future is drier, and everyone will have less. The Colorado River's rules were written in an era of abundance, but now scarcity drives conflict. With key guidelines expiring in 2026, 7 states and the federal government are locked in tense negotiations. Upper Basin states blame the Lower Basin for overuse. The Lower Basin cites senior rights and population. Leadership gaps and political paralysis have stalled progress, pushing the system closer to chaos. Every solution requires sacrifice, but no one wants to go first, leaving the basin divided and the crisis unresolved. In 2025, Arizona passed a law making it easier to turn farmland with senior water rights into housing, bypassing key water protections. Critics warn this fuels unsustainable growth and locks in new urban demand, just as water cuts deepen. The law highlights the disconnect between water policy and land use, risking future crises for short-term gains. Arizona is gambling on a future the river may not support. The Colorado River crisis demands a new way of thinking, one of stewardship, not just control. Solutions start with aggressive conservation, especially in agriculture, the river's biggest user. Cities must keep innovating, but farms must shift to efficient irrigation and rethink crop choices. Tribal communities are leading with projects like solar panels over canals and aquifer recharge. Better data, smarter management, and multi-benefit solutions are essential. This is a moral test as much as a technical one. Will we act together, or let parochial interests prevail? The river is shrinking now. The time for action is now. The choices we make today will shape the West for generations.